Welcome to this edition of the Future Ready Librarian podcast, Leading from the Library. I am so excited today to welcome my dear friend, Bill Bass. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Shannon. How are you?
I am great. It's so good to have you here today. I know everybody will enjoy the conversation that we have. And let's just start by having you introduce yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Bill Bass. I have a made-up title. It is I'm an innovation coordinator for instructional technology, information, and library media. So I'll translate that real quick for everyone. I am a district administrator. Essentially, I lead our library program. I am responsible for our instructional technology in my school district, and I'm just outside of St. Louis. We have about 18,000 kids total, and then I am also newly responsible for federal grants and federal programs in my district. Yeah. So, but when it comes to especially Future Ready, it's when I think about my role there. With my librarians, it really is just leading the program and making sure that we are setting the stage for them to be successful, and in order to help teachers and kids and do all the things that they want to do and that are important in 2020, especially in this goofy time we're in right now.
Yeah, I know they probably appreciate your support so much. And so I can't wait to talk a little bit more about that. And one thing that I always enjoy talking to you about and hearing what you have to say is around equity, because you have a larger lens too in the role that you play with ISTE, and
Sure.
not just with your district, but of that like on a national and global level too. And so I thought today we would talk a little bit about when we are planning for remote learning, just when we have equity in mind, what does that look for districts, but especially what does that mean to our teacher librarians?
Yeah, it's interesting. So you mentioned ISTE, and one of the things that we continue to think about with ISTE. So just as an aside, I am currently serving as the president of the board of directors for ISTE, and so I'm in my second year of that. And so it is interesting. We talk about that scope and that scale and that view of education and the systems that go along with education. There's not a lot of bigger platforms than ISTE when I think about that, especially with the role of technology. But that equity piece is such an important piece when we think about what's happening in our schools right now. We think about the inequities that we see on a daily basis, and those can be, a lot of times when we think about that, I talk about this a lot. When we think about that, we think about, equity really in really a very narrow way when we're talking about technology specifically. We're talking equity of access to devices and equity of access to the internet, right? Those are the lenses at which we look at those things. And what I tend to think about, and I don't want to diminish that, right? Like those are super important, hard things that we're trying to figure out, and we've made strides most certainly, but we haven't figured it out, right? But when I think about what equity means beyond just like the hardware and the access, it really is, we have equity issues in all of our schools, whether they are affluent districts or whether they are more have a higher sense of poverty or rural or whatever. Like we have equity issues everywhere, and it's not just about devices and access. Mm-hmm. In my mind, and this is where I think librarians really come in, and this is the role that they can play and the role that they should play. I mean, this is where they can make change and have an impact today. And that has to do with what I call equity of experience. And the fact is that our equity issues, it matters. Sometimes we don't think of this as an equity issue, but I absolutely do. I think that our inequities are widespread in our classrooms. Mm-hmm. And that is not to say that, our teachers aren't working hard and they're not trying or anything like that, but it matters very much what classroom any given student is in right now for their experience with technology. And that's even in the era of coronavirus and distance learning, right? I mean, even in that era, we are either trying to replicate school just straight up in distance learning, and trying to do all the things that we used to do face to face in online instead. And that doesn't take into account the power of the internet. That doesn't take into account the power of the digital tools that are out there. And that's where I think that librarians can make an impact, is because they can mentor our teachers and mentor our administrators and our schools in how do we actually create meaningful, authentic learning experience for kids using the tools of technology. Because if we're not, like, yes, it's 2020. Yes, everybody suddenly is online, which is great, except that doesn't mean that we have actually solved that equity issue. We're just hiding behind it now because technology is now this layer that's over everything.
Yeah. I know that one thing that we see in our school now and within like the state of Iowa, because our area educations agencies are supporting our schools more on bigger like platforms, like purchasing ClassLink and purchasing Pear Deck for the state, and purchasing Canvas, you know, like things like that. I think that and I see this within my own school, that now within a grade level, I think that we have most of our grades on like using like Google Classroom, or if they're using something, maybe that one classroom is the other ones are too. And I saw this happen, and it was so incredible, like as a librarian and through that collaboration, just seeing those teachers not only collaborate with me, but collaborate because it was a necessity across the grade level. And I think that as librarians, we have a huge opportunity to be part of that, because our teachers need that support in being comfortable, being empowered to use these different technologies, and just to provide these experiences that maybe we always did, to our kids. Something like seeing like them navigate like something, like Skype or a Zoom call. And it's not just us, now being the ones that are doing that, but we have this giant opportunity to really, I think, provide that equity within experiences, like you said.
Yeah, and I would even go a step further than, like it's not just an opportunity, it's a responsibility.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, we're beyond the point where we can wait, in libraries. And this is painting with a very broad brush, right? But we can't wait for people to come to us around this. And it's our responsibility, especially when everybody is struggling and trying to figure it out. And it's a responsibility to really be there and be not just be present. But be an active member of those collaborations. And we have, obviously there's a wide range of teachers who are, with their comfort level of using technology, but there's also a wide range with librarians.
Yeah.
Right. And we really have to, in the library world, I think we can support each other, certainly through things like Future Ready and that, but it's also, we have to take that responsibility and adopt it, not because somebody told us to, but because it's something that our students and our teachers need.
Yes, I think so too. And, when I look at like the Future Ready Librarian Facebook page and everything that everybody is learning together, attending webinars or conferences that are online or conversations like this, like I think together we're really lucky as librarians and within our community, because we have this huge, not just national, but global community that supports all of us. And I know that your librarians are really lucky in your district because they have you and they have Kim. Yep. And just talk about what that has looked like for your district. Like, what has the training been like, just to give others maybe some ideas on not only what your training looks like, but maybe even questions that they could go to their administrators and leaders, and how do, how can they help each other within their district get started with this too?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that has happened for us is we brought librarians together to collaborate really intentionally. And it's not that it wasn't happening before, but it was something as simple as, we opened up a Google Chat room, and we have one for each grade, each grade span, and then we have one for all librarians. And they really work with each other, and they're the first line of defense when it comes to things that are happening in the schools. We have our technology folks. Our technology folks are so slammed right now. They're trying to make everything work, and suddenly everybody wants digital content, and like, we have all these logins. How are we going to do single sign-on? And there are tools that do that, but somebody still has to set up those tools. And so they're, plus, when you think about it this way too, they're not only supporting all of our teachers and all of our students, but they're also supporting all of our families as well. And so their scope expanded. So as librarians, our scope has to expand too. And we really have to think about our community as one, not just in our schools. And so one of the things that that Kim has done is she continues to put out a monthly newsletter. And for those who obviously don't know who Kim is, Kim Linskog she works in my department, and she is basically, she's a lead librarian for our district. She is a part-time librarian at our alternative high school, and then she works to provide professional development for our librarians so that our librarians can then work to support teachers, right? I mean, that's kind of the way it goes. So the easiest thing that we did was we just created that Google Chat group and let them kind of problem solve together and bounce things off each other. And before, it was email, right? They would email people back and forth, and they still do that. But because of that chat and the expectation, honestly, the expectation is open it up. Everybody has it open all the time so that you can help each other, and you don't have to wait for me, and you don't have to wait for Kim to come back with an answer. If there's something that's specific to me, absolutely, I'm going to answer it. But chances are you can find the answer without me, and I can focus on different things. We really try to empower our librarians in that way. But we also had to offer them training, right? We also had to offer them an understanding of our LMS, an understanding of and different access to information. So one of the things that I continue to do is, if I get information from our district, from our technology, I pass it on to our librarians so that they're in the know. Because people go to librarians, right? And so when I get something, it could be something as simple as, we're going to be doing maintenance on this for a little while. Let the librarian know. Like, don't hide it from the librarian, because they are the people that they're very influential. And I talk about it a lot in terms of, I think they're probably as influential in their buildings as their administrator is, as their principal is, because it's a different relationship. And so I think the more, to answer your question, the more that we can empower our librarians to be the problem solvers and to be the people that are on the front line, as it were, and then collaborate in that way. That's why I think, the Facebook group is a great way for collaboration, because people can connect. And that's, in this time especially, that's what it's all about, is about connecting with each other in order to help other people connect. And I think that's really what librarians have the ability to do right now that maybe we didn't harness in the past. And I really do think that now it's not an opportunity anymore, it's a responsibility.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that we're really lucky because, talking about equity, we all have, that opportunity to be connected and learn from each other. And I think our Facebook group is like almost 26,000 people or something right now, which is crazy, but so amazing, because I know that I'm always so inspired by it, and I love what everybody brings to the table. When we think too about like how equity within like resources, I know a big question right now, are how we're getting, books into the hands of our kids. Of course, that's core to what we do
Yeah.
as librarians, not just, resources that are online maybe, but what does that look like, just out of curiosity, for a large district like yours that looks different from mine in Van Meter?
Sure. So we in some cases, it varies by school. It is for us, that is going to be a very site-based decision, and um, it's dependent upon the tolerance of the school community to, how safe they feel, and whether or not they want to do that, and the principal's, feelings about it. So we really basically what I have said is it can totally happen. That's right. I think it's amazing. Absolutely do that. But understand that here are your parameters. You still you get a book back, it has to be quarantined for 72 hours. You need to be sure that that you take all the district safety precautions into play. It doesn't change just because we're outside giving kids bags of books, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of our schools are working on that. We just started last week, so we haven't gotten to the point where we're actually checking out like that. But a lot of them are planning a curbside pickup service, and so there's that in and of itself. But I also think one of the things that we are doing is we took a shift last spring when we kind of saw this coming. We shifted our approach a little bit in terms of procuring materials, and so we went heavy in on ebooks and digital resources and things like that. And they started to intentionally curate their digital catalog.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that they didn't have one before, and it's not that they didn't care about it. It's that it just wasn't a focus.
Yeah.
Well, now that it's a focus, it's something that we have to pay attention to, and we have to make sure it happens. And today, our digital catalog is equally, if not more important, as our physical catalog. Mm-hmm. And so we really have to change our thinking about, for a while we had conversations about how kids don't want ebooks. Mm-hmm. Well, that may be true. This is how we get kids books right now, though. So let's, we have to be flexible, and we have to come up with solutions rather than problems.
Yeah, that brings so many things to mind. Those are the kind of things that I think about that keep me up at night. And when we had our Future Ready Librarian Summit, Fran Glick, she mentioned that in Baltimore County, I loved when she said, we've genreified our destiny, our ebooks and destiny. And I was like, oh, that is so what we're all doing, right? We're thinking about and trying to make it more interesting, trying to market the things that we have online more than ever. So our kids want those resources. And that's a challenge because, just like I like real books too, just like all of our kids want. But I think it's so important to really teach our kids now to, consume those things maybe differently and in a more exciting way than they have before. I would love to see, though, what your librarians have done. I'm sure that it's interesting working together as a group too.
It is, and they've done a great job of managing through it. We had to shift money around. We had to really think about how we were going to approach this kind of going forward. It wasn't, and that's the thing, that because everything is unknown right now, we still have to plan kind of dual paths, right? If we can, and then a hybrid in the middle, just like schools are doing all over the country. So I really am, I guess, encouraged by the way that we have been able to respond. And not just in my district. I mean, I see librarians all over the country. I hear them on the Facebook groups. I read their comments. The summit, taking part in that. There were so many things that you hear and you have conversations about, and folks are really paying attention to. And whether we deem it this way or not, there is an equity lens that we are really focusing on here, and probably that we haven't forced ourselves to focus on systemically like we are right now.
Yeah.
I think that's really exciting, and I am encouraged by it.
I know I'm excited for the changes that are taking place, and I think things that are going to change forever. And when we think about that, when it comes to librarians, we have this giant opportunity to really shine right now and to be more valuable, not just now, but forever in the future.
Yep.
And I think that that's one thing, that we need to always remind ourselves, that we need to take this as an opportunity to grow and change, and one, not to get bogged down by the things that maybe we can't do right now, but I think that we have a great opportunity to do that.
And harnessing that opportunity, while it may be hard, one of the things, Shannon, we talk about mentorship a lot, you and I, right? And one of the things that I see is when librarians take on the role of leader in their schools, and when they take on the role of leader, especially as things are changing in big ways, right? Just through their actions that are mentoring, they're mentoring teachers, and we're seeing change happen. And sometimes it's forced change, but like you said, being able to really focus on the things that we can influence, maybe that we can't fix, right? We can't fix everything, but what are the things that we can influence? Even if it's not how we thought we were going to do it, how do we influence that to make it a better space for our kids? And how do we make it more manageable for our teachers? And really, I truly believe that librarians can be one of the keys, to that change and to that support.
Yeah, me too. So wrapping it up, one thing that I always love when I talk to Bill, or we present together, or talk about the book that we wrote with ISTE, Leading from the Library, ironically. One thing I always love is that he always comes in and gives some great advice for us librarians, and sometimes he's pretty tough on us, but I'm going to ask you to leave us with some advice.
Okay. Well, I think that the biggest thing that in this time, one of the roles that we can play is and I've already mentioned it, but to be that of a mentor. Mm-hmm. And what that means is we can't shy away from things that are hard, and it means that we can't always look for problems. We have to look for solutions. And I think that is, when you identify a problem, be strategic about it. And that's one of the things, and Shannon, we talk about this a lot too, the Future Ready and the Future Ready Librarian framework. Like, it really is about language, and it's about common language, and being able to bridge the gap between administrator or teacher or leader or whatever, and that library world. And I think that if you can be strategic, and you can be supportive, and you can be positive, whether you like it or not. Lots of people don't like it, but we're all kind of in this together, and we all have to figure it out. So come with the things that you can recognize, the things that you can influence, and let go of the things that you can't influence. Mm-hmm. And don't concern yourself with trying to fix everything. Fix the things that matter to you.
That's right. Do it for the kids.
Do it for the kids.
That's the big thing. Thank you so much for this conversation. And as always, I love talking to you about all things libraries and librarians. And we thank you for your leadership. You're amazing.
Thanks, Shannon.
Yes, thank you. And thanks everybody for joining us. So we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us for the Future Ready Librarian podcast, Leading from the Library. I would like to also thank our sponsor, Follett Learning, for their amazing continued support.